Wholesale Sharks is live from the Dispo Shark studio. My name is Annette. I'm the relationships manager. And today we have the pleasure of talking to the real estate entrepreneur, Kyle Allen. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you doing?
Good. I would also like to introduce our co-hosts. We have Jackie and Christian, also relationship managers. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
Awesome. So Kyle, what is up? Thank you for coming into the studio today.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me. An amazing office that you guys have here, and love seeing the operations and stuff like that. So it's always cool when you walk into a building, you can just feel the energy, the vibe, and I can definitely feel it here today. So I'm excited to hop on this podcast with you guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and keep it pretty natural. Kyle, we're not
Pretty natural.
We're not gonna put you on the spot too much. Well, we are, but let us know how much is too much. Yeah, we'll tone it down or up, whichever you prefer. But essentially, I know Jackie has some questions for you. But we're interested in knowing your story, man. We're interested in knowing what who you are, what you do, and give us a little bit, drop some knowledge.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I guess to start off, I mean, a little bit about yourself. Who's
Yes, your journey, how you started on this field. What made you be in this field?
Yeah, so I got started at 16. I kind of was working, just like a normal job at like this, it's called Bahama Bucks. I don't know if you guys have know what that
Bahama
is.
Bucks are so good.
So I was working at Bahama Bucks at the time, and I had a buddy of mine who was just working the weekends and making just as much as I was, working like 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? I was like, what are you doing? So he basically linked me up with this company. You guys might know the company is called Open House Helpers. They put out open house signs for real estate agents and stuff like that. If not a big deal. It's
we're all
I wish I could say yes, but no. No.
So I basically kind of got introduced to the real estate space by literally just putting out signs. So I worked for this company. And basically what they would do on the weekend is they put out open house signs. They pass out flyers for agents and stuff like that. So I just started working on the weekends, passing out these flyers, putting out these signs. And then it got me introduced to Doug Hopkins, as you guys maybe know who that is, big real estate investor.
I heard of his name.
Yeah, big investor here in the Phoenix area. I was like, that's the guy on TV, like he has like all these commercials, all this good stuff. I was like, I can't believe I'm like talking to this guy. Like this guy has to be like loaded,
You're like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I'm 16. I have no idea about what real estate is, what fixing and flipping is. I just kind of, you see it out there and you're like, it's interesting, but like, I don't have the money to do that. I can't go buy a house, Yeah. So at the time I was like complaining about filling up my gas tank. So, so kind of got started in that space. And, I started then working for Open House Helpers, starting to do that. And I did that for like 3 years almost, from 16 years old until then at 19. I went down to U of A, and
nice.
A lot of people, they're like, I don't know what to do after they graduate high school. So I just fell into going to college is what my parents wanted me to do. And I kind of didn't really like it there, and I was kind of bored. So I decided to start up my own company to do exactly what they were doing down in Tucson. Mm-hmm. So started this company up, had no idea what I was doing. So I saved up about $5,000, put all of that money basically into this company. And within the first 2 months, I thought I was about to go bankrupt. Had no more money to pay my rent, food, gas. Stop. And I kind of just was sitting there. I was like, I need to make this happen. So my dad, yeah, exactly. I'm like, shit, I'm screwed. I blew all of my summer savings from this last summer on this stupid business, and I'm an idiot.
So what was his business name?
It's called Real Estate Best Buddy is what it was called. Yeah. So I still have, you guys can go through my Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. You see me videos of me putting out signs and all that good stuff.
I love it.
Nice.
So I started putting out those signs, and it kind of showed me, how to get connected with it. So I ended up getting some clients, started onboarding, started making some money finally. I was like, thank God.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Everything always happens at the right reason. I was literally about to run out of money. And I met one of the best clients where he basically gave me a retainer. So he's like, hey, I want you to do 8 open houses for me every single month. And that's $800 a month.
So you had guaranteed.
Yeah. So I had guaranteed money that was coming in. And
plus whatever you were getting on your business. Okay.
Yeah. So, what's cool about that business is it was almost 100% profit on everything that we did, because I was installing the signs and I already owned the signs and all that good stuff. So I started building that up. I got my initial investment back. And it started opening me up to other ventures inside of real estate. So that first client of mine, big fix and flipper down in the Tucson area, his name is Michael Rhodes. He basically took me under his wing and started showing me all about what real estate investing was.
Nice.
And he's like, hey, this retail stuff's cool, man, but you can make a whole lot of money more over here. And he called it the black sheep of real estate. He's like, this is where you want to focus your time and energy at. Cause he's like, you can go be a realtor, you can go make some money, do all that stuff. He's like, if you want to make some real wealth, and he had like 200 rental properties and very successful person. So I was like, I'm going to listen to what he has to say. You know what I mean? So I started kind of going down that path. And then what it led me to was kind of getting to understand how the game works. And then what I was doing was building, I'm a very like systems nerd. So I build a lot of the stuff inside of my business to support what I'm like, what my vision is.
Like what your goal is.
Yeah. So like a lot of the stuff I don't actually do myself. It's either been automated or there's a person in place to kind of take that over and do it.
So what system would you say would be one of the, like the,
so what is, so a lot of people like their sales system. So like with their marketing and their sales. So basically piecing that together to bring in, business, right? At the end of the day, without leads, without, getting connected with people, you have no business, right? So what I started doing was I started building out these systems for Mike and helping his organization to scale up and start doing that stuff. We started getting a lot of success with running Google ads, Facebook ads, text message marketing, all of these, things that we were doing. And then also tweaking because he was doing direct mail marketing, which he was spending a lot of money on. So then we tweaked that to have a better sales process too as well. Because all the time they're just calling in, no one answers the phone. Guess what? That's a dead lead. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we helped to automate that process and also to track when someone was even calling, where they called from, back down to, what their address was, and then have a follow-up sequence that's all automated instead of, the ISA that's taking that call and going like, hey, like this is what it is. And then we're kind of getting the weeds in this stuff. So some a little bit, which I don't mind getting into. Sometimes people are just like, oh, Glaze. Boring nerd, Yeah. So I started basically working with him. He brought me then to a mastermind that he's a part of called Collective Genius. At the time, I had no idea what it was. It's one of the top masterminds of real estate in the nation. So I get into this mastermind. I'm 19 years old, 20 years old at the time. And he's like, hey, you're going to be presenting. And you're going to get in front of all these people and talk. And then
what went through your mind?
So scary.
What went through your mind at that moment? Do you remember like being like, okay, what do I do? What do I say? Did you grab your phone, make notes? What did you do?
Yeah. So I kind of just told him, I was like, what do I tell these people that are all, I literally the first question out of my mind, I go, these people have made millions of dollars. I'm still like, struggling here. And I was like, what do I talk about? And he goes, talk about what you're doing with me. So I literally just talked about exactly what I was doing. And that's, I think, the easiest way to go about anything. Like, that's why I told you
when we
the
had
other day.
My presentation, I was like, what do I say?
You just talk about your journey, That's the easiest thing to do because it's what happens, and people, I think, are interested in that process, that creation that you're creating, And
I feel also it's going to be the what sounds the most genuine, because at the end of the day, it's your story and nobody knows your story as much.
It's going to be unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically got up there, I did the presentation, and I just started talking about all of the digital advertising that we were doing for Mike and basically the impact that it had on his business. He let me go up there. Literally, he's sitting there laughing his ass off in the back.
You're all nervous.
Yeah, I'm like nervous. I'm like getting in front of, so I'm doing the presentation. Everything goes well. All these guys are super open, receptive. They could tell I was nervous, and ended up where it all went up good. That led me in a complete different direction than I ever knew was going to happen. All these guys then start like pulling my arm, like after the meeting, they're like, hey, I want to talk with you about how to do this for my business. So then I started doing this like pretty much nationwide, helping people to do that. So it got to a point where, it was just a bandwidth issue. I was not able to do this. I tried to onboard a bunch of VAs to kind of systematize a bunch of stuff, even have internal people. I had 5 people working for me. And it just was difficult to deal with and try to be able to give that same quality, especially when it just came so fast, and you're like, shit. Like,
oh my God,
yeah,
too much business. What do I do?
Exactly. A good problem, but a bad problem to have when you don't have the bandwidth to support it.
Kind of felt like you bit too much off the shoe.
A lot, yeah. So I had to start kind of telling people like, hey, like I'm backed up. I'm like having issues with this. And, with the marketing space, it's like they're not going to wait for that. They're just going to go out there and go find someone else to do it. Exactly.
So at the age of 19, you did that. And we know that at the age of 19, you want to go out, party, do all those things.
Yeah.
How did you manage on not falling to that route instead of going this way? what motivated you to continue doing that journey instead of like, you know what, I want to go out with my friends, I don't know, like go drink, go do drugs, or who knows.
Do you feel like you were just so busy with the
girlfriends
business?
or whatever it is?
Yeah, so I was in a fraternity at U of A, and I actually ended
Which
up
one?
Theta Chi. They're no longer
Theta
around.
Chi.
They got kicked off. So
Oh, really?
They partied like that.
They partied like that. So long story short, we basically like I was in the fraternity, but I had like an active role inside of it, but it just wasn't. It didn't correlate to where I was at to what I wanted to accomplish. And I knew it wasn't going to help me get there. So slowly,
What was it? The position.
the
that you had?
position. So I was risk management chair. So I was supposed to reduce risk for a bunch of drunken people, basically, which was a mess to deal with. So that was my position. Then I was also like relationship management with like active, people that like went on, graduated and stuff like that to raise money for the fraternity and stuff like that. Cool. So it kind of just like the separation was, I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. I didn't really feel like I was becoming the person I wanted to become anymore. And it kind of just was like a self-realization moment where I was like, this is not who I want to be anymore.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it was hard. And a lot of them, when I started the business, they were not really supportive of it either, to be honest with you. A lot of, when you starting something that you're passionate about, you're pouring your time, your energy, your money into, and you get people that are like mocking you or making fun of you and stuff like that, it's hard. And that's kind of what also pushed me away from it too, was the negativity of that group. I don't want to like say like in general, like everyone was negative in that group, but a lot of them were. So I just started distancing myself, and it also got to a point where financially I couldn't even afford to party anymore. You know what I mean? So I was like,
because you have to pay to be in fraternities, right?
Yeah, it was expensive.
That's so crazy to me.
I've
never understood that concept. Yeah, it's so crazy.
So I kind of just started weeding myself out of there, and then at the time I had a girlfriend too, so it kind of wasn't like really like a necessity to like go pick up girls or you know what I mean. Like,
was she supportive of what you were doing? Was she giving you the time, space? Was she okay with that?
A little bit, yeah.
A lot of times going into it. It hasn't been my case. My wife's been super supportive about it. But, when I started as well, I told her, hey, look, I'm not going to have the time to dedicate to you and my kids, like I did. But essentially I believe it's going to be something that's going to help us, going
in the
forward,
future. Yeah.
Right. So how was that? Was she supportive? Was your family supportive? Parents,
so my family at first thought I was crazy.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like you're wasting your time.
When always starting a new business, right?
So they thought I was crazy. When I first got started with it, they were supportive. But they're like, hey, like, if it doesn't work out, like, that's why you're going to college. You know what I mean? Like, go get your degree. My parents come from the corporate background and all that good stuff. So
your degree was on what?
Marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So I've been niched into marketing. I'm a huge nerd about it. So, so I just, started kind of going down that path, and, my parents weren't really supportive at first. They kind of were like questioning it, didn't really think it was going to work. Yeah. And then I started, once I actually started making money, they weren't supportive of me of leaving college, because I was like at that point where I was like making close to six figures now. And I was like, hey, like, no offense, but school's stupid. Know, like these people are not teaching me anything.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm making good money now. I'm not seeing the value that we're paying for here. Right. And they're like, don't do it. So like, it was like a weekly argument where I was like, I'm dropping out. And they're like, you drop out, we're not talking to you anymore.
They wanted to disown you.
Yeah,
did you finish it? Or
I did. So I ended up finishing it because I wanted to keep the relationship with my parents.
Right. I was going to say, like, not necessarily for self-growth, but to keep them satisfied at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
So like basically it was my really junior and then senior year. I kind of just basically would show up to the test, take the test, hopefully get a C or a B or something like that. Just to get past and just to get through. Because I was taking meetings, I was traveling across the nation to do these types of things for my marketing clients. And it just got to a point where I was like, I don't really care. Like, the phone's ringing, it's money. I'm going to go pick it up instead of listening to this teacher.
Well, you had different priorities, right?
Yeah. So it had.
So shout out to mom and dad. He did it for you guys. All right?
Yeah.
But I mean, school works for some people.
Yeah.
School doesn't work for others. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that's how I think about it too, is like, for me, I just didn't see the value in it. I knew I was always going to become an entrepreneur. I knew that was like my version of where I wanted to go. And I was around a lot of people that saw that in me, that kind of like at an early age gave me the right books, gave me the right things to push me in that direction, because they saw it, and I try to do the same thing with people that I see that same thing with. And I'm like, hey, here's this book, you should go read this, or here's this podcast you go listen to, or go to this networking event. Like
Speaking
these are going to be the people.
What's one book that actually helped that you have present in your mind at all times?
Yeah.
That you would suggest to our
Yeah,
audience?
so I read a decent amount. So one of the books that really got me going was Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. So that was like one of like the first books.
Have you been to the trainings?
I have, yeah.
They're
so
awesome.
They are awesome,
Oh,
yeah.
I love them.
So that was one of like the first books that kind of got me thinking bigger on like a scale. Cause like it was also like, at the time I was just like thinking like before I read that book, hey, how do I just make by, right? Like how do I just make ends meet? That book made me think, how do I do more so I can go help more people? Okay. So that's one that like always resonates. And I've read that book through a million times. The book that I'm currently rereading for like the second time right now is The Go-Giver.
Oh my God, I love that one.
Yeah,
one of my favorite books.
Yeah. So I'm reading that again right now just because, as you're in that progression of just, changing constantly, I want to go back to those principles that really helped me to build the person and the business that I am today. So like it's hard when you like, obviously you're helping someone out and you go see them win, you're like, hey, I didn't get any, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like,
training the mind.
Right,
so it's like training myself to go, hey, it's not about me. You know what I mean? It's about helping other people. It's about doing that. And like, if I can do that, like that's what I'm meant to do in this planet. So
that's awesome. I love that.
Connecting that to marketing, you said you study that and you are really good at it. For the newbies, what would you advise on marketing when it comes to like having a new business, or even the people that has the business? What is something that has worked for you?
Building a personal brand. This is something that a lot of people, I think, do for a short period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't look at it as the long run of it. So, I mean, a lot of people like look at it, they look at someone, who's successful, like, Cody Sperber or someone along those lines, right? Who has millions of followers. And they look at him, they go, oh, he got over there overnight. And you look at his content and it seems that way. He has videographers, amazing crews, all this good stuff. But you look at the amount of times that he put into that to get to even that point where he is today, which he's not even done. You know what I mean? So personal branding, in my opinion, is probably one of the best marketing that you can do. I would never give it an ROI because you can't put an ROI on something like that, because this relationship that we're building right here doing this podcast could lead to exponential growth.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it has nothing to do with making money today. And that's what I think was really worked with me, is building that personal brand, actually posting out content. And a lot of newbies, for those people out there, they're like, I can't go create content about X, Y, and Z. This is the biggest lie that you've ever told yourself, because you can document your journey. And that's exactly what I did with my content, was just telling people what I was doing. And that journey helped me to then get connected with people where they're seeing it. They're reaching out, they're getting connected, they're talking with me. Exactly. And then it brings that to online to offline, right? Where then I'm able to get on the phone call, I'm able to do that stuff. And then also when I go on a seller appointment, or, I go talk with another wholesaler, they look at my online presence and they go, oh shit, like he actually does deals. You know what I mean? Versus like,
it's for real.
Yeah. Who is this guy? Like, you know what I mean? I can't find him. I can't see where he's at.
And I think it's the biggest way to ask for the business, really. I mean, I think it's like at the end of the day, if you don't ask, you won't be served, right? Yeah, you won't receive. And so it's like, whoever's making the more noise, right? At the end of the day, is going to get the bigger plate. Yeah. Why? Because you're in people's ear.
I also think like in this time of day, social media is so big and so present that having that like presence on there is a big deal. It's a big thing. Yeah.
So motivation, in regards to motivation, what is something that motivates you probably on a daily basis or weekly or monthly, or however you do your goals, to continue doing that marketing or that branding? What do you do to help out with that?
Do you have someone special maybe?
Rituals or vacation? Or what do you do to make it happen?
So every morning, I usually start off my morning with going to work out, and I'm always listening to something motivational.
Okay.
A gym Rohn. I've been in a gym Rohn like binge for like the last like 3 months or so. Okay. So like you name a video, I've probably seen it of Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's put it on our notes.
Yeah. So Jim Rohn is just someone that I listen to a lot because it's the foundation, right? And like I don't think that no matter wherever you're at, you always need to build a stronger foundation, because especially when you're building up higher and higher and higher, you're just putting more weight and stress on that foundation. So I'm always working on that. and then it gets me going. My girlfriend definitely is one of my motivations of
She
a
is
lot
so
of the stuff.
sweet.
She is
Love
nice.
her.
Yeah. So, it makes me think bigger because like for a while I went through this phase of single, didn't really have anyone special in my life. And it was just like money, money, money. And, I kind of took that away when I was like, hey, I want to build like something big for my family.
Right.
And that makes me kind of think a little bit longer term instead of just short term, where you're just like, hey, like, how do I get that cash today? You know, and I think that's when people can sense that when you like have that vibe with you. You're like,
Yeah,
hey, this guy's
like
money hungry.
money hungry.
Yeah, they get that urgency. Yeah, that urgency.
And being
Sure.
secure too of what you're doing.
So that kind of helps me out. I usually don't eat. We talked about this beforehand. I don't eat breakfast for most of the time because I think it actually helps my brain to process faster.
Okay.
This is kind of like Jesse Isler, if you guys know who that is at all. So he sold marquee jets to Warren Buffett.
Okay.
So he talks about like not eating in the mornings on purpose. And it kind of goes to that intermittent fasting, but basically your brain and your body only has so many, so many energies that you can put into something. So when you're digesting stuff, it's slowing down your brain activity. It's slowing down.
Kind of like that book from Jay Shetty, the Think Like a Monk book.
Exactly.
Where he basically says, you don't need certain things, but your mind is so accustomed to thinking that you need it.
Yep.
Right. So it becomes a habit, right?
It does.
You need to get out of that habit to, be able to perform or be able to act, without having it in your life, right?
Yeah.
Like breakfast, for example.
It's a routine.
That is so crazy though, because for me, like me personally, I have to eat in the morning or I feel like I cannot function. Like I feel like I can't see straight. Like I just can't like perceive anything because like I'm starving.
Read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it's like how you train your mind.
Yeah.
For instance, when we were little, we didn't know how to tie our shoes, right?
Yeah.
And now you tie your shoes and you don't even think about it.
Right. You're just
just do it without even thinking. You are
so
thinking on
consciously,
something else. So it's how you train your mind on doing things and making it a routine.
Yeah.
So I feel that maybe as that you're so used to it, like, oh, it's morning, I'm hungry, I need to eat. So same thing, like I don't eat in the mornings because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I wake up thinking about breakfast.
Yeah.
Protein pancakes all day.
Don't get me wrong, girl. I like to eat too.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Same.
You can tell.
Okay.
So I would say like that kind of like helps me to get going. Now that it's colder, like I jump in the pool to kind of get myself going.
so
It helps
crazy.
to
Okay.
get some
To
dopamine
wake you up.
going. Yeah. So either that or if I don't like today, I didn't get a chance because I was at my girlfriend's house. I just turn on the shower on cold and hop in there. And
Oh,
So
God.
you're
Yeah.
a
That's so
believer
crazy.
of cold plunges as well.
yeah.
I
Shout out
can't
to
do that.
Ramon.
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo.
Huge advocates for cold plunging.
Oh yeah.
I can't
huge
do that.
advocates.
Can you?
Neither can I. No.
No.
Heck no.
You know,
But
I haven't
should, though.
tried it. I
Hey,
haven't
it's good for
tried
your
it.
face. It's good for your
True.
face.
It's
I was
good for
actually
It's
talking
good
so
for
many things.
it's good for longevity. It's better. You'll sleep better at night.
It helps your bones.
mhm.
People with bad backs, like
Ramon Rodrigo keep on being such an advocate for it, and I told him the other day, I was like, hey, when can I stop by? I want to try something.
Yeah.
I want to get into
Yeah.
this, this whole cold plunging.
Ramon has one
deal.
at his house.
He has one. He's like, dude, anytime. I'm like, dude, it's so freaking cold. Sometimes I go outside. I'm like, how the hell are these people get into this
I
water?
can't do
Like,
it.
quite literally.
It's crazy.
I'll try
The other thing about it that I really love, it's the discipline aspect, right? That
Right.
I'm telling myself I'm going to do it and I do it.
Yeah.
Right. Because especially when you start off, like same thing with like going to the gym.
Right.
Mhm.
It's like, do I want to go work out? No,
Yeah.
like it sucks, right? But
Well,
as soon as you get going, then it gets easier. And I also have that same like level of like respect for myself to take care of it, you know?
I love it.
Accountability.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So, Jackie, I know you had a few questions. Did you have like any other ones?
Yeah. What makes you unique from the rest?
I would
in
say
your
I'm
field, of course.
I'm definitely an out of the box thinker. Like I like actually solving problems that are hard to solve.
Okay.
So like one of the things, and we kind of talked to maybe a little bit about this marketing wise of building a personal brand. People bring me the deals that they struggle with, that they're having a hard time dealing with. And this is not always the subject to deals or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like deals that there's issues with the house. There's
Okay.
a lot of stuff that's messed up with title. There's a lot of stuff. Those are the deals I like working on because I'm a problem solver. Like my mind has always been very math oriented. So like for me, it makes sense to go figure out those things and figure out what's going to work for the seller, what's going to work for us as being the buyer or the wholesaler or whoever the end buyer is, to make that deal all work together. Because there's a lot of people that just want to take just the easy stuff right off the top
course.
Right.
and do those. And those are deals that you can do. Like I just did one this last week we negotiated it down. This wholesaler was working with me, Jack, amazing guy if he's watching today. And he negotiated this deal, but the square footage was off on the house, right?
Oh.
Big issue on a
big deal when it comes to
yeah, that was that one on 11th that you hit me up on yesterday about. Yeah. So we basically ended up renegotiating the deal down $75,000.
Okay.
After the seller told him no, all this good stuff, I walk in there, I talk with them. Nothing special about me. It's just I try to be realistic with them. I try to give them a solution instead of just like, hey, I can't do anything. You know what I mean? So I walk through them. I basically figure out how I can get this deal to work, renegotiate it, and now the wholesaler is going to make money, Jack, and I'm going to make money off the deal, and everyone wins, and the seller gets to solve their issue too.
Right.
So I love solving the hard deals, and I would say that's kind of just anything with me. I'm a problem solver. I genuinely, even if it's something like What a Mike, you guys know who What a Mike is, right?
Yeah.
So he hit me up and he's like, dude, I'm having trouble with Facebook ads, and obviously I have a background with all that stuff. I was like,
tech
yeah, I'm like, come over, I'll help you with that. You know what I mean? So I just genuinely like helping to solve problems. So I'd say that's kind of what makes me a little bit unique, is like taking on problems that most people would be like, no.
Yeah. So you're also licensed, right?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
Yeah, on purpose.
I thought that you were. Do you plan on getting licensed? Do you feel like there's a benefit to it?
No.
You want to stay completely on like just the investment side?
Yeah. So one of the guys that I started working for down in Tucson, he was part owner in a brokerage, had a team, one of the best teams in the Tucson area. And he said if he could go back in time, he would not do the brokerage and not do getting his license, all that stuff, even though that's what helped him to get into it. He's like, if I had someone like me that could tell me what to do, I would avoid all of that.
That's interesting.
And there's a lot of people that obviously have different versions of it. Zach Keeps hits me up all the time. He's like, dude, why are you not licensed?
Yeah.
And I get people that ask me that question a lot. And the biggest reason is I want to be known as an investor, not as an agent. And that's just kind of my thing.
Yeah.
I
Personal preference.
Personal preference. I'd rather refer out that book of business, get a marketing fee on the back end of it or whatever, and not have to deal with it.
Would you, for somebody starting off, let's say, for instance, would you recommend that they go through, getting licensed first, just for knowledge purposes? Or what do you say, find a different alternative, find a different route, don't do it, it's waste time, waste of money?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with actually the license in general, when you look at it, so when you go through that process of actually going to get licensed, they teach you nothing about the actual real estate business of how to actually operate it, right? It's the legal backing around
it's the legalities of it all.
So
they scare the bejesus out of you of what not to do, right?
Exactly, right? So they that's what they do, and they don't actually teach you anyways to actually go get business, which I think is the most important thing. Yeah. That's why 90% of real estate agents fail. Is because they don't teach you the necessities of how to actually grow your business, how to operate it. They just tell you, hey, here's what not to do and here's what to do, right? And I think it's a great learning lesson because you can go find a good broker, you can go find someone like that. I was able to learn a lot about the real estate business and get paid to do it from people. So when I was having my marketing company, I would be inside these large organizations. I had some special niche that I was good at that I could help them with. And I was able to learn everything about that business without having to go get licensed, without having to pay them, right, to as well for a mentorship or whatever, which I'm not opposed to. I've paid a lot of people a lot of money to go learn from them. Yeah. Probably one of the best investments I've ever done because I'm betting on myself, right? But I just recommend against it for most people if you have something that you can go help out with, right? Some people that come to me, they have a sales background and they're like, hey, I have a sales background. Well, why can't you go just take that, go be an acquisitions person or junior acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
Like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And go learn the business from that, because that's going to be where you're going to learn best at, is by getting your hands dirty, not by sitting on the background watching YouTube videos.
Well, it goes to show you provided value to these people initially, and then they in return provided value to you as well. So
exactly,
that's awesome. So I'm interested to hear what is your business that you're working on now? What is it that you're full in on for this year?
So full in this year is just investing. So,
nice.
I started out just wholesaling, right? Just like a lot of people didn't have capital, right? Didn't know exactly what to do. Don't have a construction background by any means. And, I started looking at it, and, a lot of the wholesale deals that I was selling to people, they were making a shit ton of money on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, one, I could obviously increase my wholesale fees, sell them for a little bit more. But, at the end of the day, it was like, I wanted to become that true end buyer. So one of the biggest things is we've raised a decent amount of private equity now. So we're now putting that into actually fixing and flipping houses, We obviously still wholesale. I'm not going to get rid of that. I did that for a little bit. Stupid idea. Lost a lot of money.
Oh my gosh.
But just like, I shouldn't say
bueno.
lost money, but like lost opportunity of making more money.
More money.
You know what I mean?
The continuous income.
So like what I'm trying to focus on a lot is taking down more properties and also building the rental portfolio. Because as much as I love this game, I love passive cash flow.
Yeah.
That's probably one of
Who
the best
doesn't?
things. I know, right? So that's one of like the biggest things I'm really focused on is building more units. So, right now we're close on probably about like 15 units or so.
Oh,
one's
wow.
a 9 unit, one's a 3 unit, 4 unit.
Okay.
So
Multifamily.
yeah, exactly. So we're gearing a lot towards multifamily to take down and keep it for the long run. We're trying to syndicate some deals, put some bigger deals together on paper. The biggest thing is obviously it takes a lot of capital, right? So where I'm focused at is basically building the capital up for our team and our organization to get connected with power players in town, right?
Nice.
So there's a lot of money that's sitting there that needs to be put to work today. This guy that I was at coffee with beforehand, he's like, dude, I got $1 million. I need to put it somewhere. Like that's a good problem to have, but it's a bad
My
problem
bank
when,
account.
yeah, exactly. Right. I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, you want to give it to me?
Quite literally.
And when you're talking with people like this, that are high net worth individuals, they actually have a problem. So like for me, it's like, we're really good at finding deals. Like that's what the art of wholesaling is, or real estate investing for a lot of people is the art of finding deals. A lot of people just sell off their equity a lot faster. So what I want to do this upcoming year is put a lot of that equity back into the deals, syndicate the deals, keep them for longer term.
Yeah.
Because I know that's how I'm going to create real wealth for myself instead of just done, take the quick hit and be over it. Even though the quick money is amazing, I love it when it hits the account. And you're like, oh, that's a nice wire,
Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, good morning.
Yeah, exactly. So,
No, but that's awesome because you're thinking big.
Yeah.
So I think that's really exciting.
So that's kind of what our focus is, and growing it. We've opened up the last like 6 months a couple of different markets to wholesale in. So we've done a decent amount of deals in Austin and Dallas, and then we're also in Tampa and Miami now too.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
got those deals, send them.
Yeah.
So not to put you on the spot, but I know, and I like from what I've heard, you've had a lot of male figures, role models.
Yeah.
But do you think being a guy, it's an advantage for someone in this field?
That's a great question. I've thought about that a lot because a lot of these are a lot of like male oriented, very dominant rooms. And I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage. I would say everyone has their own advantage to themselves, right? So if we're looking at it like a binary, like, hey, there's no like, gender involved of it, I'd say everyone has their own advantage of it. But what I would say is see the opportunity that you have, right? Because guys are kind of stupid sometimes, right? And I think there's a lot of money that females can make in this organization. And that's something that I've been trying to get my girlfriend to get into there. And it's just not, it's like a lot of people look at investing as like complicated.
Yeah.
And it's really not when you guys think about it, right? It's like, hey, I put X in and I get X back. Like it's probably one of the most simple businesses when you actually break it down. I would say that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for a lot of female figures this upcoming decade, and even past that are going to actually explore it and crush it. You guys had Sophia Willits on, right? The last podcast.
She's so amazing.
She is amazing. I sat down with lunch with her a couple months back and stuff like that. She's absolutely crushing it. And her husband is an amazing guy too as well, but she's the head honcho in that, you know what I mean? So so it's
she's
cool.
so secretive about it too, because she barely got on social media like last week.
Yeah.
And she's like just huge.
Didn't you help
Killing
her?
it.
Yeah, I literally helped her make her Instagram because I was like, you need to like promote yourself more. Like there's
Tell
just
the
so much
world what-
opportunity.
yeah.
I'm like, you're crazy. Like, come on.
Yeah. She has a lot of money that she's looking to move into multifamily too.
Yeah, 100%.
What would you tell yourself if you were 5-10 years younger? If you could change something, what would you do? What would you tell yourself?
Well, you already started so young. I mean,
Yeah.
16. That's
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
gotta ask, man, how old are you now?
I'm 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are so young, young, making things happen. Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
It sure serves as inspiration for a lot of like younger community. Of course, it's like I mean, if I could show you guys, I don't know if we have a camera to our live audience that we have. By the way, shout out to our live audience guys.
What's
We
up,
have a live
guys?
audience today. I mean, you guys look young. I mean,
Super
if I could
young.
ask you, brother, what's your age? 18. We have an 18-year-old.
Boom.
21.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
there's
young.
You're definitely setting up a trend, brother,
Yes.
to where you're
Inspiration.
waking up this younger community to say, hey, it's out there. Find it. If you don't like school, if you don't like this, you know, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with school, but you know, there's other ways of making it, you know, not only in this industry, but in, you know, whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish.
for those inspiring entrepreneurs, for sure.
Exactly. So, you know, I mean, I applaud that, brother. I mean, thank you for you know, being such an inspiration too. I mean, I'm not that young, but I mean, I feel young at heart.
That's what matters, though, is how you feel young at heart.
But,
you know?
but it sure inspires me to say, hey, you know what? Like, was I just looking in the wrong place? You know, now I'm here, and you know, who knows what's next, right?
Yeah.
But thank you.
It's never too late to start.
I think what's cool is like with technology and with social media, it allows people to actually see and get access to these people. Because the guy that I learned from, you can't find him on social media.
Like, he doesn't have it, right?
Yeah, doesn't have it at all. Like, he has a
Old
LinkedIn.
school.
I made his Facebook that he doesn't use. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't care about it because it's like that book of business is always coming because everyone knows who he is, you know?
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, when you think about it, it's the advantage and the level of playing field has definitely been evened out with the amount of knowledge and information that's out there. Because you go back even 10 years, it's hard to find some of these things.
Right,
Not a lot of people were talking about them. You know, it's weird to hop on a podcast and do a podcast 10 years ago. And now it's like, you know, people are talking about this, and I think it's cool. But if I could go back 5 years or 10 years or whatever and kind of tell myself something, I'd be believing in myself more. I had a lot of like growing up, like self-confidence issues. You know, growing up, I had a speech impediment. So like, I was one of those kids that had to go to the speech doctor in school, you know, because you couldn't read or whatever. And I would try to believe in myself faster because, you know, what I realized was, you know, as much as you might have the best people in your corner, you still need to be in your own corner.
Of course.
And a lot of people
believe in yourself, right?
Yeah. A lot of people are afraid to believe in themselves. They let, you know, the doubt, the scarcity, the, you know, the issues, the downfalls that, you know, can happen. They let those affect them. And, you know, why not believe in yourself, right? Like, what do you have to lose?
Let you affect you. Look at you now.
Well, it took me a while before that. You know, I was self-conscious. I remember when I was like knocking on those doors the first couple of times, you know, I was like, I wanted to run. I wanted to throw up. I didn't want to do it. I was scared shitless, you know? So, you know, building that confidence, I would do it even faster if I could, right? Like, I think that's something that even today, sometimes I get scared, especially with these multifamilies, bigger deals, right? Like, I'm like,
what's a risk?
It's
always a risk.
It's a huge risk, and it's all coming back to me.
And then you're 23, they're like 40, 50, 60, who knows? And you're like intimidated, but then you bring out that.
Well, they've probably been in the game a lot longer.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that I'm talking to, they're 60 years old plus, you know, old white guys, basically, you know. And, you know, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of influence, and, you know, like it's difficult sometimes to negotiate deals against people like that, you know, when you feel like all the odds are stacked against you. But they would trade all the money all the time for the age, or, you know, to be able to restart, you know, to go start at that age again or whatever. So
Wow.
So it sounds like you've had a lot of sacrifices within this path, right? But what are some of the advantages that you have obtained from it?
That
you say, like, you know, it's different from everything.
Yeah, it's definitely like I've definitely sacrificed a lot, you know, not going out on weekends, you know, not building friendships with friends, missing out on vacations, you know, doing a lot of stuff that, you know, is hard to do, and, you know, sacrifice even putting, you know, the money that I had towards X, Y, and Z to something else, right? It's easy to like look back and go like, oh, I wish I would have done this. You know, when you have that insight now, it's like easier to look back and be like, oh, I wish I would have done this. I'd say the advantages that happened was, you know, I started accumulating wealth a lot faster. So it allowed me to live the life that I wanted to live and not have to live in scarcity, you know, because for a lot of the times when I was doing it, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm building this up. And, you know, where I'm at financially right now, I know a lot of people are not even in that space, you know, at my age bracket and stuff like that. So like the financial resources and also the network that I've built are probably one of the best things that I've ever been able to tap into. And not even just my own financial resources, other people that I've been able to build that network and relationship with. That's what I think is probably one of the best things that I've gotten out of doing this, is sacrificing those things to get to that next level. And, you know, eventually when, you know, I'm 30 years old and I can go help a bunch of people and go feed a bunch of people, which is like my mission and my goal, I'm not going to have to worry about clocking in at 9 to 5, or, you know, my kid has a baseball game that I got to go to and I'm worried about missing a meeting.
Right.
Like those things I want to be more present for. So I'd rather take the hard stuff today to go be able to do those things in the future and not have to,
Right.
you know, be like, hey, I gotta go take this meeting. My dad used to travel, you know, 2-3 times a week, and he's gone, you know. So all those games, even though he tried to make every game that he was home, he just, you know, he had to go do it for money reasons, you know. So and you know, I respect what he had to do, but I would like to be as most present and most involved as I possibly can. And then also be able to give back to the community, because, you know, they say like that saying, like the city or the village raises the kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
right.
like I love that saying, because it's like I want to give back to the community that's given me so much.
I think it's amazing, like, you know, focus on the hustle and grind now to have that financial freedom and like overall freedom with time later in the future. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Because you have all the energy of the world right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be doing
23.
You don't want to be doing this when you're past 50. You're gonna have that much energy.
Yeah.
Right?
So talking about the future, now that you mention it, 5 to 10 years from now, what do you think? What are your plans? Any goals?
Do you want a family?
Yeah, I do want a
How many
family.
kids?
So I'm kind of crazy. I want a big ass family. So
Go off then.
Yeah.
That's what I used to say, and then I had my 2, and then I was like, okay, maybe.
maybe not. Yeah.
But my kids are wild. Hopefully yours are
Yeah.
crazy.
So knowing my family, they're probably gonna be crazy. So
So professional and then family wise, how
yes.
would that be?
So family wise, I'd love to have like 4 kids or so. I grew up in a family of 4.
okay,
I think
good number.
Yeah, I think it's a great number to have. You know, I think it gives like the options of like you have the older and the younger siblings to kind of balance them out.
Right.
So I
Right.
like to say, like, you know, me and my older brother, because I'm on the older side of it, would balance out the younger ones, and some would do the vice versa. So I'd like to have a family. As far as business wise, some goals that I really have is to have $1 billion worth of real estate is kind of the end goal. That I'm looking to do. So whether that's multifamily, commercial, single family, it's probably going to be a combination of all of them put together, and just keep accumulating it. Because Monopoly was my favorite game growing up. I was one of those kids that was like aggressive, where it was like, we're not giving up on this
boardwalk.
game. Yeah, exactly. Like
This game is not going there.
yeah, like I would get all these properties, I'd bundle them all up and be like, sell me these, and you know,
Right.
package them off and stuff like that. So like that was like kind of like my favorite game growing up. It sounds cheesy to say.
No, it was actually mine too, bro.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
yeah, there we go.
I absolutely hated it. I got so bored.
Really?
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm over it. Yeah.
Yep.
We'd
same
have
here.
games. We'd have games that go 4 or 5 hours long. You know, just
God.
going into it, and you know, it was just like a fun game to play. So that's kind of where I would like to do. And then one of my big goals is to donate $1 million every year. So I write that down every single day. You know, I want to, be able to donate as much money as I possibly can to go help and give back. So
Nice.
me and my business partner, we started doing some stuff. Shout out to Lucas, by the way. I would not be able to do a lot of the stuff
Go
without
off,
my
Lucas.
business partner. But we started giving back a portion of all of our profits to charity, and starting to do that.
Amazing.
And at first, you know, like that first kind of like time that you do it, you're like, oh, this is weird. You know what I mean? But like now it's like, it empowers me. Like when we go do that deal, that it's not just me benefiting from that deal. There's people
giving
depending
back.
on
Is there
me.
is there a charity specific that you guys?
So we do
involved
like Feed My Starving Children
Okay.
is one of the big ones that we're a part of. The reason why I like them is all the money goes directly to the actual people.
with? Mhm.
And you know what we just did, we just donated for a family of 4, it was like $500 or something like
Wow.
that, to feed them for a whole year.
That's amazing, Kyle.
So you know,
That's
so
really, really awesome.
stuff like that is like what I'm really passionate about doing. I'd like to start moving some of that to the States, because I think there's a lot of things that we need to get down here first
Sure.
too as well.
We do have a lot of
Yeah. So we do have a lot of people. We have a lot of things that I would like to focus our energy here. But right now they have a really good program that I feel like I'm able to have a bigger impact with the
amazing.
amount of money that I'm able to donate at the
Wow,
moment.
that's
So
amazing.
I think that's absolutely
Good for
amazing.
yeah.
Before we do wrap this up, I thought it'd be really cool to ask or have our live audience ask one
course.
question.
Yes.
Fellas,
Jose, if you wanted to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. All right, if you had to go to dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
So the
Oh,
question
that's a
was,
hard
if you
one.
had to go to dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be, Kyle?
Interesting. Think
So-
about
put him on the spotlight.
Yeah.
All right.
So Jim Rohn is dead, sadly. So Jim Rohn would be
Rest
one of
in
those
peace,
people.
it. Okay.
His, basically Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' like mentor and coach and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So I'd have Tony Robbins there. Trying to think about who else. I don't know. I don't listen to a ton of people, to be honest. I'm like very like laser focused on like a handful of people at like any given time, where it's just like that's like the only focus. So definitely those 2, and then I would say like I don't know, like Mac Miller would be cool to like
My
chill
God,
with too.
I love
like
Mac
I don't know, like
Nice.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
That would
used
be
to
cool.
go to his concerts and all that good stuff. So he'd be a cool person to like hang out and just like talk on business related. So
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
That would be interesting.
It can't all be
Hilarious.
business,
A fun
right?
one.
yeah.
Any
Okay.
questions, brother?
I guess what's the best way to kind of network and just build a group of like people that you trust and kind of just build up confidence as well. Kind of like what's the best way there?
So the question was, what is the best way to network or build confidence like in the field?
Yeah, so I would say like the best way to like network with people is just to genuinely like see like how you can actually help them out, right?
Provide value.
Yeah, provide value, like talk with them and like don't be afraid to share your best resources with them to help them out. Like it sounds crazy, it sounds stupid, but like I guarantee you that's the fastest way to build a strong network. There's a couple relationships that I built this last year that, you know, are $100,000 relationships that we've done business together. And it's strictly by just helping them, by providing value, by doing those things that most people wouldn't do.
Right.
Exactly.
And those relationships, you know, they are fruitful, but I would still do it if that relationship got me zero. So you have the expectation of doing it whether you make a ton of money or no money with that individual, and be okay with either or, right? And just be there to just help and add value. And that will give you confidence that what you're doing is actually working, because obviously if it does work, it'll make you money. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So like that's what I would say is like just have that confidence and go out there and be just genuine. You know, I think that's the easiest way to go about it. You know, I don't like the whole like fake it till you make it kind of stuff. Like I don't think that really helps. I think it kind of like helps you to push yourself out there a little bit, but
Right.
I think you get what you also expect. So like if you're faking it to other people, you'll also get people that fake it back to you.
Yeah.
You know, so like
I can see that.
I just genuinely just put out a good message out there and try to see where it's going to go. If it doesn't go anywhere, no worries. You know what I mean? There's plenty of people that, you know, I've probably shared golden nuggets with that maybe they've done something with or haven't done it with and got nothing out of it, but I don't really care because it's more about building that up. And, you know, like we talked about the relationships that might end up 10 years down the road where we're working on X, Y, and Z business or a deal that we're working on. That's what I'm shooting for when I'm networking, not the today. And it sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but play long term with always your networking.
And also don't be scared to ask questions. A lot of us are even scared to see someone, talk to them, just being next to them. Right. How have you been in one of those situations that you're like, oh my God, I need to ask him, how is he doing this or how is she doing that? How do you go about that? Like,
yeah. So do you guys know who Hastings and Hastings is?
yes.
Okay. So I met him actually before this. I had no idea I was going to meet him, by the way.
Okay.
Like this morning.
This morning.
Today?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh wow.
We're sitting at a random coffee shop in Ahwatukee. You know, so it was with where the meeting I was at. He used to be business partners with him and he ran into him randomly. And I was nervous to meet him. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know who. I was like,
You're
that guy
like,
looks
oh my
super familiar. And driving
In
here,
my
I see like
dress,
7 billboards of his that, you know, he's on the front of it. So like when I run into these like random relationships or, you know, people that like are obviously big head honchos and figures, you know, it's interesting because they're just normal people at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Literally people.
Yeah. Like, and if you run into someone who's like, you know, very egotistical or something like that, you probably don't want to be around them you know what I mean?
You can feel the vibe.
Yeah. So
Energy.
like, and that's what I would say is just talk to them like they're normal people. Most of the time they'll be pretty genuine and nice. And, you know, I would implore people to go after those bigger figures because a lot of people get discouraged and they don't even say it and they don't even ask that person. So it puts you in an advantage. So like what I would do is I would always try to go after the top people. And then that also makes it easier regardless whoever you're talking to.
They introduce you to other people.
Exactly. And then also the point of like, even if you're not meeting someone, you know, that's like that like status level or whatever you want to call it, you know, if you treat everyone the same, it'll play out all this, you know what I mean? It'll play out really nicely for you.
Yeah, and people will recognize you for who you really are.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, being genuine is like so important, I think.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Before we do wrap this up, I wanted to ask Jackie, did you have any closing remarks?
No, I just wanted to thank you for being here, giving us your time. We know that you have a lot of work going on, so just giving us time to do the podcast.
Yeah, it's awesome. Christian?
No, nothing. Just like always, guys. Thank you everybody that was here. Thank you for our live audience for showing up, guys. Everybody at home. Thank you for tuning in.
Subscribed.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel. They got some huge like players. I listened to a couple of them, so I definitely love what you guys are putting on here. So definitely make sure to keep doing it,
Thank you.
and having
you.
people on here. So.
Where can the viewers find you, Kyle?
So you can find me on Instagram. You guys can find me on YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, pretty much anywhere. So Kyle Allen on Instagram, it's Kyle Allen 12. Sadly, there's a quarterback that's Kyle Allen, so
You're like, that's not me.
So I can't get that hashtag or that username because he's probably going to continue
Not the
using
football
it.
player.
Yeah, not the football player. He happens to be from Arizona too, so not. That's
Oh my
not
gosh,
me.
you're
Yeah, he's from Scottsdale. So
well, I just had to say, Kyle, thank you so much for coming in. I think you're so sweet. And yeah, it's been awesome to chat with you. So thank you guys for all that tuned in. You know that we put on these podcasts in YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. We'll be streaming it all live. And once again, thank you guys for tuning in.
cool. Adios.